No, we want to be very clear. You don't need a license to be yourself. That is just so beyond reason. But people are so used to it. They think it's the license to operate the vehicle. It's the license to operate the title. Because you're a trespasser on the public with your given name, you need a license. Simple as that. You're an intruder. You're an adverse possession. And when you're doing it by consent. Because that's the only way it works. Because it involves legal contract. And there's no possible way it could operate without your consent. Consent makes the contract. It requires your picture to prove that you're in consent on the record. The legal side is definitely their title, so it's already on the permanent legal record, the surname. The given name should never have been on the record. It was private, which is off the record. It was never official in the legal world. But you're trying to act as an official with official capacity. And you can't. It's not yours. It's as simple as that. So the interesting thing about the birth certificates, when you look at them, they're ambiguous and unclear, of course, because the state didn't want to show they trespassed on the given name, so they just call it name. And then the next derivative instrument pops out the driver's license, which follows the same format, which just says name again, doesn't say given name or surname or family name, just pops out the same way. But the only difference between the birth certificate and the driver's license is instead of their signature on there and no picture, because there isn't anybody in reality for that name. They needed a sucker. So you go in and you walk in and give them your picture, get the picture, and then you give them your signature. So now you have taken over whatever this represented. It's just a derivative instrument from the same instrument. And they didn't run out of ink. They could have put family name and given name on there, but they didn't. Surprisingly, though, the officer who receives no documents from you that says given name or family name on any of the instruments, whether you gave him just the birth certificate, in the sense, I'm talking about the main derivative instrument that's used, okay? They remember, we're not talking about the statement of birth record or the information that would be that, because there are the wallet size and there is the long form that the parents filled out at the hospital. We're not to confuse those. We're talking about generally the instrument that's used that just says name. Well, basically at that point, it should tell you right there that if the officer received no information from anything, whether the insurance, the driver's license, even a birth certificate, or the ownership, never said family name or given name on anything to do with that, that's deliberate. And so therefore, how did the officer hand out a ticket that says family name, given name? Well, he just entered the license number into the computer and he sees a screen pop up. But he didn't get that from what you handed him. He didn't get family name and given name from anything you handed him. That should be telling you that there is a problem going on. He's a robot also, because he's just going to what he's been trained to do. He doesn't really examine the documents. He goes into his main screen computer that gives him the full picture with information that he did not have in his hands earlier. I'm not going to get into detail on this because, man, I could tell you there'll be people running around trying to sell that information in some video program of their own. This is not there for that. This is there just telling you reality of what is in front of you. I'm not making this up. You can see it for yourself. Now, the interesting thing about the driver's license, got that little symbol I told you about in the previous, that looks almost like a key. Well, interestingly, there's a word that shows up, in a brother of mine up in the north of Ontario sent it down to me, and I hadn't seen it before, so I'm learning every day. But there's a word called incameration, just like in camera with T-I-O-N. Now, we already explained that in camera means private. So is that coincidental, or is this obviously supposed to happen, that there would be an in-camera picture not only going on at the trial, at the court for the tickets, and an in-camera going on when you go and consent to trespass on the state title and want your private share of it for your own use. So incameration in 1828 Noah Webster's dictionary is defined as a chamber or arched roof, the act or processing of uniting lands, revenues, or other rights to the Pope's domain. So when you look at the aerial view of Vatican City, I think that will be surprising for the people with Ontario driver's licenses. That symbol there that has your picture and your signature, your energy, who you are, your spirit of God, is trapped inside the Pope's Vatican symbol. Now, they knew this way in advance. These guys have been at this a long time. Satan is the master deceiver, and he's got the Pope at the top end collecting all the souls. So what they're doing right now is they're capturing your spirit, your private image, okay, into almost like a mirror. And in fact, the pagans used to believe that your spirit was trapped inside a reflection or a mirror. So this is very occultist. It's not a good thing. This is pure paganism. And you're caught in it because you're in the spell right now. Okay, so remember, you don't need a license to be yourself, but you certainly need a license to trespass on the title of someone else. Well,